Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Iron Purpose Podcast. My name is Bailey Belter, and believe it or not, I am hosting this thing and having a great time doing it. It's been a lot of fun. All the episodes we've been able to put out so far, and looking forward to getting some more out for you here in the near future. Today's episode features Isaiah Moengen. He is a producer at Listen Local. It's a podcast in the Brainerd Lakes area. It is on Spotify, and I believe it's on YouTube as well. But go ahead and check it out. They got some good stuff, keeping you all up to date on the going-ons of the Brainerd Lakes area, especially in the wintertime here when it doesn't seem like there's a lot to do. He fills us in on stuff that there is to do in the wintertime. He's also a realtor at Woods to Water Real Estate. So if you're looking to get a home or sell a home, call him up, see what he's got for you. He's also the executive director and CEO at Lakes Area Heroes, and it's his foundation that he founded to give back to the community and the law enforcement, first responder personnel within the area here. We get into that and how we started that and why he started that. It was a great conversation that I had with Isaiah, and looking forward to collaborate with him in the future. This is the Iron Purpose Podcast, episode number 13, featuring Isaiah Moengen. Stay sharp, everybody.
I am with Isaiah Moengen. Did I say your name right?
Nailed it.
Awesome. Let's go. I looked at the spelling and I was like, I should probably look into his podcast, see if he says it. And like right away, you said it in one of the episodes. Ching. Got it written down. Yeah.
Nice.
How you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing very good. Yeah. Trying to stay warm on this. I just looked at my watch. It's negative 18 outside.
Yeah. 26 below is what the truck read this morning.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. That's fine.
And you still ventured out.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're good. I spent the weekend in the fish house, and there was a few times where I wasn't sure if the door was going to latch. One of the mornings I opened it and the door froze, like the latch froze open. So I went to close it and it didn't latch. And I was like, oh boy.
Oh no.
Had to go like get a torch and do some de-icing, but fine.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
You get out often on the lake?
Yeah, as much as I can. Usually it's kind of crazy this year where it's unique where we have really good ice. So we're able to get it out pretty early, but I get out as much as I can and spend some evenings and, do some work and put some rattle reels down and try to catch some walleyes. And
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome that you have an opportunity to like work from there too. We'll do some work. And then that's the thing about ice fishing is if you're out there and there's no really protection or anything, I kind of struggle to sit there and fish. I'm not a huge ice fisherman, but when it comes to, if you got a decent setup and you got a couple friends there or whatever, like you're just kind of hanging out and then you're fishing at the same time. It's
exactly.
pretty sweet.
Yeah, there are some people that I do not fish with anymore because they are like, they get antsy, right? They get antsy where they're like, oh, we're not getting to it. We got to move. We got to go move. We got to do something. We got to chase the fish. We got to do this. Different guys go, change it. I'm like, no, stop. Open a beer. And I'm going to put a line down. And if I catch something, that's a win. But
absolutely.
Out, have a good time and good conversation. And that's about it. Or, if I'm out there by myself, I'm like working on my laptop, but I got a line down. If I catch something, that's a win.
Absolutely. I love that. Just randomly just popped in my head. So you've been doing a podcast. I'll probably get into it a little bit here. You've been doing a podcast for a while now. When you're with your friends or when you're with other people and you're in real estate too, is that correct?
Yep.
Do those podcast tools kind of help with conversation, as you go, or is that something you kind of had beforehand where it's like, oh, I talk really well, I'm going to do a podcast?
Yeah, I think it was something that it was kind of both, right? It morphed into actually having to kind of come back on how much I talk and be a little more careful with the words that I do take and understand that one of the most powerful things I learned is that it's okay to take pauses.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to just slow down and have a conversation and not always be going a million miles an hour. And that really helped me on my real estate side of things to just stop and listen and understand what someone's saying and how they're saying it. And some of those tools have been really helpful for me. It was kind of like real estate first. And then through real estate, I met some really great people that allowed me to have the opportunity to come on and start doing the podcast. And it's been a riot. So.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So you big Minnesota sports fan then?
You want to go there?
I do.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah.
just for a little bit.
I am. I bleed purple, and I am bleeding. I am. I am.
Oh.
I am. It's it's just nobody understands. If you're not a Vikings fan, no one really understands what it's like. The woes, the knowing the letdown was coming. We just don't know when. Most of us would prefer just to have gone, 7-10 or something like that this year, and it would have been like, you know what, that's what I thought was going to happen. Cool.
Right.
Let's look to next year. But instead,
Yeah, I had a work training up in Bemidji, and so I was watching that last game by myself, sitting there in my hotel room, and I joked around with my friends, like, yeah, I cried myself to sleep last night, but it's just, there's just no, where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
right. Right. And I don't know. I mean, it looks good, right? It seems like we have all the tools. When you look at other teams, they win and they don't have all the tools. So what are we missing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we missing? What do we need to add to our tool belt, to our repertoire of how we approach games and how we try to, win games? Is just, I don't know what that looks like, but we're not doing it. We have the ability, right? But then when the lights come on, how about we just play all of our seasons with only primetime games, right? We just have to do like baptism by fire, where that's all it is, just primetime, and then we'll figure it out. Maybe.
Right. So what do you think we're going to do this coming year with the quarterback situation? It was a big question that was on my mind before the season ended, and now it's kind of like, now I kind of have a more personal opinion of what I would like to see happen, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, the last 4 or 5 weeks, right, we started this conversation about Sam Darnold, literally the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it was why are we talking about this? Why are we doing this? Let's not talk about this right now. Let's wait until after the season, but we just decided to. And everybody was saying, like, you're not going to be able to afford Sam Darnold with the way he's playing right now. You're not going to be able to pay him $40 million a year to continue to play or extend your contract. So I think at this point, he definitely lost himself some money, and I think we should re-sign him. I mean, I think we should keep him, and I think we know he can play regular season. We know he can win games. He's better than Nick Mullins, and see if maybe KOC can. We look at it, right. He did what he did with Sam Darnold in just that one off season, right, to build him to where he was for this whole season, right.
Good point.
That I look at it, and he's kind of this quarterback whisperer, right? From our perspective, but I think that you give him another offseason with Kevin O'Connell, and maybe he falls on his face. I don't know, but we know he can win games, and we know that JJ McCarthy is going to be ready. Maybe not first game. Maybe you let Sam play for 5 games, and then wait for him to slip up, and then run JJ McCarthy. But I think they would be a really good duo. Versus trying to do what, right? What else are we going to do? What other quarterbacks are on the market, right? You're not going to draft somebody in the second round or late first round. I mean, there's no talent that's coming out of there. So you're going to have to try to get somebody free agency. So that's my
Yeah. What about this random wild card in Daniel Jones? Do you have any thoughts on him at all, or no?
I mean, I wouldn't hate keeping him either. I mean, he's another Sam Darnold, right? I think we signed him to a cheap long-term contract, and then maybe we can pull some draft capital out of him and trade him out. And because I mean, he can play football, he can win games just like Sam Darnold, right? He's the same caliber, I would say. It's still playing win games. He's beat us before. I mean, he beat us in that wild card game a couple years ago. It's like,
all right. So
we know he can win big games. Maybe we look at him. Maybe you see what he does in the offseason.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, after that last game, I think I got overly excited for JJ McCarthy. I was like, all right, I'm ready to see McCarthy play. But you do bring up a good point of, Sam and KOC did that all in one season. Maybe another off season, maybe some more time with KOC. He can hammer down on those things, because it just seemed like Sam got flustered, and then when he got panicked, he didn't really know what to do, and then just took a sack. So maybe that's one thing he can focus on and grow from.
It wasn't like he wasn't capable of making those throws. It wasn't like the receivers weren't open,
Right.
right? It was just it was a mental thing for him. Like he couldn't, like he wasn't making those decisions as quickly as he needed to, and he was decided that he wanted to hang on to the ball for 7 or 8 seconds and take a sack. Like earlier in the year, I literally talked about it on our podcast. It was like I was like, man, this guy, he's so opposite of Kirk Cousins. He can get rid of the ball. Like he's making smart decisions. He's not taking sacks. He's like scrambling out of the pocket. He was playing like a hell of a good football player. And I don't know, the ghost came out in the last couple. I don't know.
Yeah. It was always next season, right?
Exactly. Next year.
I always joke with my uncle about that. I know that's kind of a big Minnesota saying, but the Twins were playing one year, and it was like the first game, and I'm not a big Twins fan. I wish I got into Minnesota sports and you know, as a whole a little bit more, but I think they lost like the first game, and I was like, well, Lynn, hey, there's always next year, and he started laughing. So now every time when something bad goes, even like on the first play of the game or something, oh, hey, there's always next year, man. So optimistic Vikings fans.
Yep. Well, our season's over.
Oh, I love it. Well, enough about the Vikings, because I think we could talk about that all sinking day long. I'm sure they'll come back up in conversation. But for those who don't know who you are, don't really know your story or what you're all about, and I'm kind of one of those guys too. Haven't got a chance to talk to you a whole lot, and I'm really excited about this conversation. But the floor is yours if you want to just kind of take it away with kind of how you got started and how you got into what you're doing. And I'm going to write down some notes. So if I look down here, I'm not ignoring you, just writing some stuff down.
No worries.
We'll rock.
And feel free to stop me if I'm talking too much. But so, yeah, my name is Isaiah Moengen. I grew up in the Brainerd Lakes area, grew up in Cross Lake. And I mean, where do I go with this? Okay, right now I currently full-time real estate agent with Woods-Water Real Estate in downtown Nisswa. I have another podcast that I'm a producer of called Listen Local. We cover everything in the Brainerd Lakes area. And then I started a nonprofit called Lakes Area Heroes a couple years ago. So I was like every other kid in this area. When I graduated high school, I wanted nothing but to get out of here and get out of town, right? It was go experience life somewhere else. But I was a little different where I knew I wanted to be back. I just didn't know when or how or what it would look like. So went and did college for a couple years, and then met a girl, and we decided we wanted to come back. So it was 2019 when I moved back to the area. I managed a couple different places. I worked for Big Axe Brewing, and I was managed a Verizon location for a little while, and then knew I wanted to get into real estate. My dad was in real estate for many years, and kind of took the dive head first and met with Colton here at Woods-Water, and it was a no-brainer. So been doing that since 2020. So kind of also baptism by fire, like came in, and it was absolutely insane, and it was COVID, and it was all of those things going on, and that was my first year in real estate. And then from there got to meet just incredibly cool amount of people, and built some really cool relationships. One of the reasons why I love being in real estate is I get to build relationships. I get to meet people. I get to bring people to this area, hear their story, help be that advocate for them with whatever's going on in their lives, be that person they can call if they need something. And that's kind of why it transitions over to everything else that I do. So I'm extremely blessed to be able to do what I do. So in 2021, I hopped on with the guys over at the podcast, and we've been doing that. It's been a lot of fun doing that every once a week. I think we're about at 200 episodes right now with that show.
Yeah.
And it's just been a riot. We're the official podcast for Lakes Jam, Extravaganza, Craigens, and the CRMC Championships. We cover all of those major events in the Lakes area, interview local people like yourself. We interview business owners, local celebrities, big celebrities. We had Chad Greenway on the show a couple weeks ago and got to chat with him a little bit, and that was fun. And
Big Chad Greenway fan.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I used to have a picture of him right here in my backdrop, but then my wife took it and hung it up in my bathroom. So I had to replace it with a Wolverine comic. But
but yeah, so that's it's a couple of things. So I've got three main things going in my life. Obviously, or four. Family's one of them. So my wife and I, we got a dog at home. But the big one that I've really that pulls me away a lot, which I really love, is Lakes Area Heroes. So this is kind of digging into that right away. 2022, I started this. My dad was on Cross Lake Fire and Northmore Ambulance. Did that for about 23 years. First responder, paramedic, and that was family. The department was something that I grew up with, right? It was always those people that were there for you, and they were always there for the community. And it was, pager going off, whether it was middle of the night, middle of the day, Christmas dinner. That was dad, right? That's what he did. We'd be, I don't know why I'd always think about it, but it was like coming home from church or something, and the pager would go off, and we'd go to the scene, right? If there's an accident or whatever, and a lot of times I just sit in the car and wait, and that's just what it was. Mom would drive us home and come pick up dad later or whatever, but that was how I grew up. And now that once I started in real estate, I realized that I really have more flexibility than I've ever had to be able to really do some other stuff, right? To be able to expand my wings. And I wanted to give back to the community. I didn't know what that looked like. But this is kind of the idea that I came up with, that I wanted to give back to our first responders and our local heroes. So I kind of had to start the process of figuring out what that looked like. So initially I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just partner with another organization that does that. There isn't anybody locally that does that. So I was like, maybe, okay, we'll start the organization. Maybe we'll buy equipment, right? There are people who do that. Obviously, equipment's really expensive. So that was kind of the initial thought. But what I realized really quickly was there is no organization locally in the Lakes area that specifically supports our local heroes and their families when they fall in hard times. Just them. And that's kind of where the idea was born. We're Lakes Area Heroes. So kind of an overall idea for people that are listening or watching is that we essentially help anybody that's in a firefighter, anybody that's a police officer or sheriff's deputy, anybody who works for the jail, anybody who's in dispatch, first responders, EMS, if you work for Lifelink or North Memorial, if you're a helicopter, whether you're a pilot or a mechanic, or you're an admin or support staff behind the glass, helping those heroes do what they do every day, or any of your immediate family, that's who we cover. That's who we support. That's who we say, we got your back and we're here to return the favor because you guys are the last people to ask for help when you need it.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Was there a point in your life, maybe growing up with your dad or your family, where you were like, man, I really wish we had, somebody to help us during this situation, and you were kind of just like touched by it, where maybe somebody did and that kind of sparked it? Or it was just more of growing up with your dad being so immersed in this career field that you were like, I really want to be able to continue to help people like that?
That's a good question. We didn't have a specific situation growing up, but one of the ideas that actually helped me think of this was, the overall mantra during COVID and with everything going on in Minneapolis, I think that was a big driving factor for me. The stigma and like the amount of negativity around our local law enforcement was something that really it bugged me. It really bugged me. And I was like, man, I don't know if anybody realizes this, but like our Brainerd Lakes area loves our local heroes, and we love them unapologetically. And nobody in this community that I know of doesn't love our law enforcement and what they're doing, right? Obviously, if you're breaking the law, then you might not love them. But overall, right? Like if people love our local heroes, and what I sat back and said, but how do they do that? Like how do they give back and say thank you, right? So then I thought, well, okay, there's maybe the fire department does a pancake breakfast, right? Or maybe they do a little fundraiser here and there. And then I looked into it, I'm like, okay, well, those funds actually go to like the Relief Association, or those funds go to buying equipment. They don't actually have a fund that's there for them when they need help, right? And I know some departments do that, right? Some departments help out their own, and that's not uncommon. But there was just like there's nothing out there that people could wrap their arms around and go, yeah, I do. How do I do more, right? And how do I know that my money's going back to something local as well? So that was kind of the big draw to answer your question. Is just I think all of those things going on kind of economically and all that stuff was just like, okay, let's give back and let's give people away in the Brainerd Lakes area and surrounding communities to do that. So we do cover, it's a hard question to answer. So laying out the organization, we said, okay, well, we're going to be Lakes Area Heroes. What is the Lakes area? And for those of you who are listening, I've never been here, trying to draw a line and actually, okay, where do you draw the line, right?
That's a good question.
Tough because, how far do you go out? And depending on where you grew up, Lakes area is different to everybody, which is why we always say at Woods to Water, it's wherever you're up north is, we got you covered. Kind of ours. But so we said, we kind of went to the counties, right? We said Crow Wing, Cass, Aiken, and Morrison County is kind of the 4 counties that Lakes Area Heroes covers. So if you live or work in one of those counties, we will help you out. We actually had one hero that we helped that he lived in Brainerd, but he worked in like over towards Detroit Lakes or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Fargo. So it's just he would commute, but he lived here and he needed help, and we did that. So
that's awesome. When you were growing up and you watched your dad be on the fire department and whatnot, was there ever like something that instilled in you, like, I want to do that, I want to be involved like my dad was, or was that never on the table?
100%, and I think that still will happen for me. And that was actually when we first bought our house. I live in Baxter, and it was like I reached out to Tim and I was like, hey, I'm thinking that this is before I started Lakes Area Heroes. I was like, I think I want to be part of the department, but I know I'm moving. I'm going to be planning to be moving north, like towards Pequot. So I don't want to, but you need to take somebody else because I don't want to waste your time, because it'll probably be a couple of years and I'll be moving north. So we decided to kind of wait on that, which was a really good blessing because I had the time to kind of sit and realize that this is something bigger that I can do, that I feel like I can make a bigger impact. I still will, but growing up, that was what it was. He was looked up to in the community so heavily, and people loved him, and still to this day, people come across me or my name and they say, "Oh, I knew your dad." It was, oh my gosh, he was so awesome. He was so incredible, and I'm so fortunate to still have him around, and he's on my board of directors and helping us really.
Oh wow.
And shape and mold this organization, and it's so cool.
What an opportunity. And it's cool that I've had a couple guys on the podcast who talked about sports, and one guy was a coach when it comes to training MMA athletes, and another guy, he's a reporter, a sports reporter, and when it comes to covering sports from the high school level all the way up to the pros, those guys both knew that it just wasn't in the cards for them to go pro or to pursue a career in this. Yep. Yet they still wanted to be involved in it some way. And for you, like, you're doing real estate, and like you said, you may someday down the road be a part of that. For you to still, some kids grow up, I want to be a cop, I want to be a firefighter, all this stuff, and then maybe I can't, or maybe I shouldn't. Like, there's still so many opportunities to get involved like that and to help other people out in that area of influence or whatever that may look like. Like, just because you're not doing it doesn't mean you can't be a part of it and help them out some way. So that's super neat. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people resonate with that, especially with what we're doing. Is a lot of people, maybe they're not, they don't want to be the person actually on the front lines or doing those things, but they want to help, and that's kind of what we're doing too. And I think it also goes for a lot of the staff and the support staff that help those departments, like the sheriff's office and the jail. Obviously, we have everybody who supports the people who are on the front lines doing what they're doing. Those jobs are just as important. They're supporting them, helping them do what they're doing every day, and they need to be recognized, which is what we're doing too. And I work for the jail. I'm a correctional officer with the jail, so I do appreciate that part of it, because oftentimes, the cops and the firefighters, that's all that people see, and that's, I'm right there with you. I'm bowing down to those guys for what they do. And I got to be able to experience that a little bit firsthand as well. But, to include the dispatchers and the correctional officers within that as well is that's pretty cool. That's gives me goosebumps, to be honest. Good. That's why I do it. And I played O-line growing up, so I played college ball and obviously high school, and I was always the guy that never got recognition, right? But without what I was doing every single play, there wouldn't be the play. You wouldn't have the touchdowns. You wouldn't have everything going on. So that's kind of how I see what you guys are doing, right? And like I've never, since I think it was like last year was the first time I ever actually got to go into a jail, fortunately. But I got to tour and kind of walk through with what you guys do every day. And the people and the inmates that you guys have are they're just people, right? And you're trying to help them, kind of get back on their feet and do everything and make it as pleasant as possible and try to be a light to them every day. And that's like, I not only physical, but I imagine mentally draining.
Can be. And we were just talking about this the other day with, I have another episode that's going to be dropping soon, and my uncle, who is a correctional officer as well. And, we talk about the people that come in, and it is mentally draining, especially if you do kind of take things personally that people say. And, they come in and they're not in the right place. Maybe they're, intoxicated on something, whether they're high or drunk or whatever, and they're just not themselves. And if you get upset and you take it personally and, lash out and whatever, yell or whatever it is, it's just kind of adding fuel to the fire. But sometimes you can sit down with those people and, as they're yelling at you, a lot of the new guys that come in, I tell them, they're not after your heart. They're after your badge, which is over here. I was like, this is all they see. They don't know who you are. So you can't take anything they say personally. And when you kind of get that out of the way and when they're kind of done freaking out or whatever, and you can sit down with them and really see the hurt that they're going through, whatever they're in there for, and just kind of sit down and be there with them. And then also be there with your team, like rely on your friends and your community as officers to kind of get you through those times too. It's like that purpose of helping other people and trying to get them back on track, instill some hope in their lives. It kind of outweighs everything else, all the negativity that can come down on you. Because like that person said all this stuff about me, but I was able to try to at least instill a little bit of hope in them. And if they take it, awesome. And if not, I just got to still hold on to the fact that I tried. I put it out there. I was an outlet for them.
Mm-hmm. So, did you always think that you were going to be working in jail?
I did not. No, that was the last thing I wanted to do. So actually, my grandpa and then my dad were both police officers for 20 plus years. My grandpa in Mankato and my dad in Nisswa. So there may have been cases where he and your dad may have crossed paths. Yeah, that's what I always wanted to do. That I have the the thin blue line cross flag kind of behind me because it's something that I'm really passionate about. Excuse me. So yeah, I grew up watching. It's kind of similar, watching my dad, get in his uniform and drive off in the police car, watching him drive down the driveway, and off he goes with the lights or whatever. And I always saw him as my hero. I always looked up to him in that, and the way that he made me feel when I was kind of getting into law enforcement. It's like, I want to be able to make somebody feel the way that my dad makes me feel. Like, I want to be that person for somebody else. And so I grew up and tried to stay out of trouble as much as I could because I was, I had nightmares that I was going to end up in jail and not be able to be a cop or something crazy like that.
I would always, my dad was also on city council. I always get, you know what, if you go out there and mess up, it's not me, it's you, because you're going to be on the front page of the newspaper and it's going to say, John Moengen's son is whatever. And that was the threat. I was like,
yeah. So I tried to just get involved as much as I could, especially after high school. I went down to Pensacola for college for a couple of years, with a degree in criminal justice, and got involved in Pequot actually as a reserve officer for a couple of years, and then so college down in Florida didn't actually work out. The accreditation didn't match what Minnesota required for post, which is peace officer standard and training.
Sure.
So I had to start all over at CLC, and I think I agree. I'm kind of one of those guys too, like you, where you grew up in the Brainerd Lakes area and you love it, but you want to go try something different, knowing that you're probably going to end up coming back. And then that was me. I ended up coming back and completed my training and everything requirements for Central Lakes College and graduated, and then got an opportunity with the county, Crowley County, and I think I bit off more than I could chew at that point. It was a lot, and ended up asking if I could just go into the part-time capacity and work in the court system while I try to figure out what it is that I wanted to do with my life. I was like, man, maybe this just isn't for me. After all this time trying to figure out, hey, I want to be a police officer, and to kind of hit that realization of, maybe this just isn't for me. I tried to get into real estate. I looked into selling insurance and worked with a guy cleaning windows, all kinds of different things. And then about a year later, my wife and I were sitting down watching a UFC event on the TV, and she's like, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because I would really hate for you to, not try one more time and then look back and go, man, I really wish I would have given it another try. Because during that time, I have a patch collection too of law enforcement patches.
Yep.
And so I'd shown her some that I just recently got. And she's like, you were so passionate about this still. Why do you not want to do this? Why are you looking at other areas? And so I gave it another go, and I spoke to the sheriff's office again and was like, hey, I'd really like another opportunity if you're willing. And they're like, yeah, let's give it a go. And unfortunately, a couple months after that, I got in a accident with a squad while I was on training. And at that point, they're like, all right, it's time for, we got to move on. We'll still give you the go back to part time if you'd like, while you get back on your feet. And
Sure.
so it was a really tough time for me because I had kind of given up and then went out and gave it my all, and then ended up kind of crashing down literally. And it's like, well, why? How come? Why are things going the way that I want them to go? As maybe some people may think in life. But I ended up working part time for the county for a little bit again back in the judicial center.
Sure.
And around that time, I had reached out to the Lakeshore police chief. It was his birthday. I saw it on Facebook, and I was just like, hey, happy birthday, man. Hope things are going well. And he said, if you're ever looking for part-time work, you should come talk to me. So I was like, oh, here we go again. Go up there, and I applied and talked with him, and I ended up getting on there part-time, and I worked there for a couple of years. And then I got a full-time opportunity in Sartell. And again, I was working nights down there, and just the back and forth and being away from my family, and my mental health just went down. And can't really explain why. I was just like, why can't I not get this? I'm on training with these guys, and my mental health, I'm just not there. I'm not able to be 100%. And I had to stop working there. I resigned. I said, hey, I can't give you my 100% right now. I got to figure out what's going on with me. And I know it's getting a little long-winded, but I ended up coming back home. I got into therapy, met with a therapist to kind of focus on my mental health and figure out, why can't I do this? And she's like, it's not that you can't, like, you have the ability to do it all. It's just you're in your own head, and you're, focused on, you don't want to disappoint your father, your grandfather. My father-in-law, who was the chief deputy there at the time. So it's like, I don't want to disappoint this guy. I don't want to disappoint my wife. And I just held on to all that pressure. So when I was able to meet with my therapist, she kind of worked me through as to why my mind was the way that it was. And met with my pastor, Eric Holst at Timberwood Church, and then also got in the gym with a personal trainer. So I was able to holistically kind of start to build on myself. And when I was still working part-time Lakeshore, they took me back on, and I was waiting for the chief to retire so I get on there full-time. And he's still working there now. So that didn't work out. But I was also working for a guy in Pequot shoveling snow off of roofs. So I'll never forget this day. And I've talked about it on here before, but I was sitting on the roof, and I was like, is this, this is not where I thought I was going to be at. What was I, 20, 25, 26 at the time? I thought I was going to have all it together and be in law enforcement and loving it. And I had applied at the jail because I was like, I need a full-time job. I need something to support my wife, who we had just been recently married that summer. And so I called up a lieutenant at the jail because I'd known him through some boxing stuff that I had done and just working in that area. And he's like, all right, well, we got a couple people that are going to be getting to put on training here pretty soon. And if they don't get through the psych, we'll give you a shot. We'll get you on here. And he called me a little bit later, and he's like, hey, one person didn't pass the psych, so we're going to give you an opportunity. And I was like, all right, I'll take it, man. And I got in there, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And like I had said before, had you told me that I was going to be working in a jail during college and stuff, that's, like I said, that's the last thing that I wanted to do. I did not want to be locked up in there and whatever other negative things you can think of when it comes to being in a jail.
Yep.
But and it kind of goes back to the conversation we had a little bit earlier of, thinking this is what you want to do your entire life, and then not hitting that mark, but still finding a way to be involved with it and still fulfill that passion that I've had for law enforcement for my entire life. So being able to be in the jail almost 2 years now, I've had so many opportunities for growth and so many opportunities to help other people out. And that's what it's all about for me. Just because I can't be out on the front lines, driving around with lights and sirens and helping people in that way doesn't mean I can't still help people in the capacity that I'm in. It was always to help other people. And I talked with my buddies, and he's like, so you want to be a cop because you want to help other people and you enjoy working on a team? And I was like, yeah. He's like, McDonald's is hiring. Like, you help other people, give them food, and that's part of a team. Mailmen, same thing. Whatever the job is, he's like, you can still fulfill your purpose in any capacity that you choose. Like, it doesn't have to just be a police officer on the streets. And so that really helped me shift my focus from, I don't need to be a cop. I'm gonna be a correctional officer, and I'm gonna do my very best to try to make an impact here. And it's been a blessing. Long
Wow.
story short.
No, that's incredible. I have a question, and feel free. And maybe this is too much or too heavy, but really resonated with you when you said that you kind of were putting a lot of pressure on yourself, and you had all these things kind of coming down, and it felt like there wasn't really, like, you just couldn't clear out your mind when it comes to the mental side of it. What was, you said you met with obviously Eric and started getting in the gym and start talking to a therapist. Was there like an aha moment there, or was it just a form of self love where you're really taking care of yourself and it really kind of opened the blinds?
I think there was an aha moment of letting go of wanting to be a police officer and thinking that was all that was there for my life. And I had it, that had been a goal. Like, this is it, mountaintop. And I've talked about a tattoo that I have on my wrist here with some mountains. Like, that was the peak. Like, that's what I wanted. And when I got there, I was just like, now what? Like, I'm not better. I thought I was gonna have my anxiety gone. I thought I was gonna be this confident person, and I was never really confident growing up either. I always wanted to fit in with the crowd, with my friends, and do what they were doing. And it kind of was the accumulation of all these things kind of coming down and going, I think you need to let this go and like, just be yourself, man. You don't need to be a cop, or you don't need to be whatever you want it to be in order to be yourself.
Yep.
So that's kind of where it kind of came down. And obviously, meet with a therapist. She was able to help me work through my anxiety, and that's what it was, a form of just anxiety of just. And I've always, like I said, I've always been like a people person, a people pleaser, to a point where it's like I always wanted people to be happy around me. And there have been times, like in interviews, people were like, all right, who's your best friends and who are your enemies? And I'm like, man, I really don't think I don't have any enemies. Like, I've always got along with everybody just great. And
Done everything I can to make sure I don't, right?
right, yeah, that's that's kind of my goal. And and when I got to the point where I was like, it is okay for people to not like you. It is okay for people to have opinions. Like, that's not for you to carry. And I think that's what my problem was, or my circumstance was. I was carrying everybody else's opinions, or what I thought that they were thinking of me.
Right.
And it just dragged me down, because every little thing that I did wrong, it was like, oh, shoot, like my FTO, because he's sitting in a seat with somebody who's right next to you, judging your every move. And I was like, oh, this guy doesn't like me. I'm going to fail. I'm a failure. And I started identifying with those things. But as soon as I was able to start letting go and just start identifying with myself and saying, just be you, man. At the core of yourself, just be you. You don't need all these other things to make you who you are. And if people have those opinions, that's for them to carry. I just try to figure out a way to bring it all back in a positive way. Like, if they're going to say something bad about you, it's not necessarily bad. If it's true, we can fix it. We can grow. If it's not true, that's their own problem. Still positive. We're still growing. So that's kind of where just a realization that I don't have to carry all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's, I think a lot of people struggle with that. I know I do, right? I know it's having confidence, right? And like putting these stories in your own head. I think I often do that, right? When it comes to specifically like real estate, right? It's like, oh man, maybe this person doesn't like me, or am I doing a bad job, or they're thinking this, or how do I? It was always something that I put this pressure on myself. And then a little while ago, I said, I'm just going to be who I am, and I'm just going to be a human with these people, and just get to know them and all that. And if at the end of the day they decide that we're not the right fit, then that's okay. And I quit putting all this pressure on myself. Like, oh, you got to hit these. I have these huge goals, and like, no. I got into this because I have the ability to make a living and have these other things where I can give back. And, all those things have additional pressures as well. And I think I constantly have to just reset myself and come back to it and go, no, like, you are who you are. You will make mistakes. And when people judge you, or people say negative things about you, that's more of a reflection on them than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I consistently try to look at myself and go, there's a quote out there, the guy who does the ice baths is just like, the most like powerful form of self-love is discipline, right? Because you're going to tell yourself every day, that I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to work out, or I'm going to make my calls, or I'm going to prioritize family. And when you don't do that, you're telling yourself that it's not important, right? But when you get up and you are disciplined, you tell yourself that you have to do this. That's truly a really, really great form of self-love, when you hold yourself accountable, because you know it's the right thing. You know it makes you feel better. Like for me, it's when I started getting up early and like my day started with a workout and like having breakfast and having a routine, my mental health like completely changed. I had like the days were better, positive outlook, and nothing could get me down. But like when I would go a week of hitting the snooze button, because I don't have, I have a boss that's calling me and saying, why aren't you at work? Right. I could sleep in until 10 o'clock every day if I wanted to. And that was a big struggle for me getting into real estate. Now I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. And it was like, no, you need to stop, and you need to realize that snoozing the alarm is doing more harm than you could ever think, because you're telling yourself it's okay not to be okay. Or you're telling yourself that it's okay to just not get up, that it's okay to not to go do your thing every day. And it's going to make yourself feel worse later in the day or worse throughout the week, and let it compound. So, love yourself and just do it unconditionally. And when people judge you, it's on them, not you.
What a weight off your shoulders too, especially after experiencing what it is like to carry all that weight. And then for you to finally hit that, like you said, that aha moment, it's just like, oh yeah, all right, get off me. I'm going to go on with my day.
Yep. And my wife often looks at me, she goes, well, how do you not let things bother you so much? Like, how do you do that? Because she's very particular, and there's little things bug her. And I go, because it doesn't matter. Like, if someone's all mad, or this is not the right way, like, my life will go on. And
right.
That's it.
What a great mentality. Yeah, because you do get so focused on little negative things, you're going to continue to find them. Like, if I go through my day like, what's going to upset me today? Like, literally anything. Literally anything could upset you if you wanted it to.
Anything upset you.
Right. So it's like, what are we doing?
What it is. Like, but if you decide to just look at the positive things every day, like, you just feel better, you interact better, you build better relationships, you will be more successful in life.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But don't be fake about it either. Like, don't just, like, you can fake it a little bit till you make it, but once you just keep looking at those positives, you will feel better and you will have a better outlook.
Couldn't agree more. And I like what you said too about the, discipline is the best form of self-love. And when you don't do the things you tell yourself you're going to do, you're only lying to yourself. And I think that's where a lot of that came from in the beginning. Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get into this devotional. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to do this workout. I'm going to get up at this time. I'm going to go to work early, all this stuff. And it's like, as you slowly make these promises and you don't keep them, like, that's going against you. You set your alarm for the next day, like you said, and you hit the snooze button. It's like you're motivated you that you're not worth it. Like, nah, it's okay. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to listen to that other guy. You let those inner voices talk to you and talk you out of being who you should be. And another thing too, like you said, you're going to have those days too where people where they're chirping. They're going to say stuff. There's going to be weeks where people like you. There's going to be weeks where people don't like you. As long as you keep getting paid, like, it is what it is. And I'm an MMA guy, so it's a Conor McGregor quote. He said, if people are gonna, one day they like you, one day they don't, as long as you just keep getting paid, like, and it's not all about the paycheck, but that quote, it's like, as long as you are able to keep being you and keep doing what you're doing, like, who cares? Like, they can keep talking.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, that was awesome. With the podcast, you said that started how long ago now?
Started the podcast in 2020.
Okay. And what was the? Go ahead.
Sure. I was just going to say, so it was started as kind of a joke, not necessarily a joke, but it was just like, okay, we're all locked in, and let's just hit record and have some fun, and just kind of be like a local hub for people to tune in to hear what's going on in the area and talk local happenings and stuff like that. And it was kind of on and off for the first year and a half or so. That was the other guys who started it, and then I came on board and kind of was the guy that was like, no, we need to do this. And we started doing an episode every week, and from there it just absolutely blew up, and we had people knocking on our door for sponsorships and having us be a part of their events and all those things. And now, like I said, we've been going, this is year 6 of the show, and it's been a ride. The people we've been able to meet, the experiences we've had, and the partnerships we've been able to beat or to create is just so cool.
It's awesome. Are you able to tie your the nonprofit with the podcast? You talk about it on there a lot, or is it separate?
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because we have Colton Mayers on the show. He's the owner of Woodstock Real Estate and Man Traders Co. And then Jacob Blazer. So he has Blazer Productions. And so it's us 3 are the main hosts on it. And when we built the show, we said, hey, we're not going to forcefully promote our stuff. Like this isn't like I'm doing this just to talk about real estate. I don't want to talk about real estate on the podcast. Like no one wants to hear me talk about real estate. But it's like we want to just be who we are and have people get to know us. And yeah, we're going to promote our stuff here and there. Like I guess talk about Lake Erie Heroes. If we're having an event and it fits in, I'm going to talk about it. Right now we're selling table sponsors for our big gala we have coming up in April. So, I'm plugging that every once in a while, just letting people know they can be part of it if they want to give back. And but yeah, it's really cool because we get to just kind of do it our own way.
Mm-hmm. You guys come up with, and I haven't had a chance to listen to a whole lot of your stuff, but I'm definitely going to now. What does it look like when you're preparing for an episode? Do you have a topic ahead of time and kind of just go off the topic, or do you ever just hit record and just start going?
We definitely do that. Definitely wing it, as I say. But typically we have now that we have sponsors and stuff, we have a couple segments. We have our local happening segment, and then we have our news, and then there's usually a guest segment. So when we have a guest on, it kind of varies based on who that is, right? And what we're up to. But the big part of it is just kind of a recap of what's going on. What are we up to? What's been going on? And then it's, promoting the sponsor and getting into the guests and why they're here and what they're doing, whether it's interviewing Corey J from Advantage Seamless and what he's doing in his business, or, Mike Higgins from NP, or Sheena from JC's about the extravaganza coming up. I think we're doing that this week. Or Ken Lacey from Lakes Jam, or Sheriff Klang, we're going to have him on, or whatever, right? So we have them on, we tell a story, we talk about it, what's going on, we're promoting, and then after that we get into local events and happenings. The prep is a lot of work, especially with everything else that all of us that are part of the show have multiple businesses and multiple things going on, and this is kind of like the side gig that we do it because it's fun, but we realized pretty quickly that it's definitely is quite a bit of work just to prep the show so we have enough content to talk and fill the hour. Right. I mean, we can all talk for an hour, but it's not, actually having something put together. So we have topics, we have news stories. We always like to be the first one to talk about local businesses too, right? So when a new business is coming to town, we want to tell people what's going on and what we're hearing, what's the rumor mill, right?
Right.
To kind of fill in some of that stuff, and because a lot of people, when I talk to them or see people out in public and they poke me about it, it's just they love it because they don't have to pick up the newspaper anymore. We're just covering everything that's kind of the local happenings. What's the scuttlebutt? What's happening? What are people saying? What restaurant's not doing well? What restaurant is doing well? Go check out this. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Kind of get the it reminds me of those older. You think of like a football movie or something like that, where all the dads of the high school kids get together afterwards for a drink, or you see them at I'm getting haircuts. So did you see little Johnny at the football game this past? Just talking about just hometown,
just what's going on.
I love it.
Shop, right? Who who got arrested over the weekend, or what's going on. So it's a lot of fun. Obviously we got to be careful with some things, but
right.
But it's nice because we've had opportunities where people have wanted to buy the show, or where we've had other partnerships and stuff like that come across. But at the end of the day, we were like, you know what, we can do it how we want right now, and we can keep this show as we have it built. And it's cool because I'm so fortunate in my life because I have, being that real estate pays my bills, and a part of that is getting to meet people and to, bring people to the Lakes area. I also get to meet people on the podcast, and I also get to meet and help people with Lake Erie Heroes. And it's just all kind of fits together, which I'm so fortunate to have these different kind of facets to my life and what I do. And I don't work. I mean, I do, but I love what I do, and I love people and love meeting them. And, it's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. you're just like an outlet where people can plug into it, and you got like access to, hey, we got this, we got that. What do you want? Let's party.
Let's go.
So with the podcast, like obviously you guys promote hometown BLA, and even with like the Lakes Area Heroes, it's like hometown Brainerd Lakes area. We got Crowway and Cass, which is Aiken and Morrison.
Yep, you got it.
How important it is that hometown feel for you? How important is the Brainerd Lakes area? Because obviously you're selling real estate to the area here. You're helping these hometown local heroes, and then you're also promoting it on your podcast, talking about everybody you can specifically. And I'm sure you'll probably touch on it, but you know, when it comes to like national news nowadays, people get so sucked into like everything that's going on out there. You know, there's this war being fought over here, and these fires over here, which is awful. But you never hear anything positive on the news nowadays, and people get so sucked into how can we change our world, but they don't even focus on, you know, sometimes it's right here is where you change it right in the beginning, you know, right where you kind of came from, and start small. So what does that kind of mean to you that you're able to do that?
Man, it's really incredible because we get to tell it how it is. We get to tell people what we're seeing and what we're hearing. We're not always giving you, I'm not giving you full, huge news stories, right? I'm not giving you every single detail, but this is what we're hearing. This is what's going on. And at the end of the day, like we get to promote this area, and there's so many incredible things that this area has to offer. And I get to see people's faces, but I tell them it's actually more to do in the winter than in the summer here. People go, what? I'm like, whenever we do the show and I'm doing show prep, there are more events happening on weekends in the off season than there are the on season, because the on season, when it's summer, is just like, it's balls to the wall, right? It's just like you're going crazy every time you have a spare second, you're going to try to get on the water. But our region is just so focused, and the economy is so focused on the summertime, and that's where all the tourism happens and all that stuff. But the winter is like, this is where the locals get to kick back. We got our ice fest, you've got extravaganza, you've got markets, you've got like there's so many things happening. And if you want a really good meat raffle, like you can find it every day of the week. So, I was promoting last week's show, and it was like there was a comedy tour coming to town. Like we would have went to Jack's house and watched a couple of comedians last weekend. I was like, what? This is so cool. So or a chili fest. Like there's just so many things going on, and so many ways to get connected in the community. And it's just a blast. And I love telling people that. It's like, no, there's a lot going on here. I love it in the winter more than I do in the summer, just because like you just get to relax a little bit. Life slows down even more, and you get to just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Snow and ice, that really helps.
Yeah, it's what did it look like last year for you guys when you're promoting all this stuff and there's no snow? And even
positive.
What's that?
We tried to keep it positive. But it was tough, like, because it was still kind of cold, but it was, we just weren't, the ice wasn't there, the snow wasn't there. But it was cool because you get to watch these local businesses adapt to it too. It was so awesome because there was different events. People were creating events and hosting things at their bars or restaurants or studios, or people were adapting. It was so cool. Just like during COVID, right? You saw these adapt and do carry out meals where you can heat them up at home, or different things like that, where people could still stay healthy and still eat their stuff and still have different like chat rooms. And it's cool because we have so many different types of communities within the Lakes area that you really can explore them all too, which is so fun.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What do you think that if there was one thing that you could bring to the Brainerd Lakes area, what do you think it would just put the cherry on the top of it? Do you have anything come to mind?
I have a lot of things. There are some things that I'm not going to say because I want to do them. But one of them is I would love to see like a arena be built in our area. I would love to see like similar to like what St. Cloud State has, right? They have their hockey rink. I would love to see some type of arena get built here where it was a venue for conventions. It's a venue for obviously hockey, but for concerts. We could be even bigger hub for hockey in our area. I think it would be an absolute blast. So someone should do that.
I like it.
Like make it a fitness center as well, with like all of your pickleball courts and your workout center, and really make it like a community focused facility would be super cool.
I like that. I agree. I think it'd be cool to have some sort of facility here where, like, I'm a member at Takedown Gym. I love the gym there.
Yep.
And I think it'd be cool if they're able to do like expand. Maybe, I don't know if it looks like a pool or like a rock climbing wall, more pickleball courts, like something for people who aren't into like skiing, snowboarding, ice fishing, like something for them to do all year round, especially with kids. Like, I'm not a dad yet. I'm getting real close. My wife is doing in March, but it's like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, super excited. But it's like, if I go to the gym, my kid's not old enough to go to the gym. I want to be able to take him somewhere to, like, that's not just like a bounce house or something. But
there is a new coffee shop opening in Baxter called Littles and Lattes, I think. But it's coffee shop geared towards parents to be able to come and bring their kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be opening within the next like couple months here, and it's going to be over like by Boulder Tap House, I think, like in the strip in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get one of them on the show who are starting it, to listen local, to just hear about their story and starting that. I mean, that's so cool. It's a unique idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So do people? I mean, I don't know, when people are coming to the area or are coming on to try to promote their own stuff, it is cool how you're able to have the outlet too, to be able to say, hey, let's get people over here because it's a cool idea. Like, that's awesome. That's a really good idea.
It is so cool, and to be able to just showcase that, and also because the reality is that there are so many different opportunities as locals here to be able to open businesses, right, and be entrepreneurs and start new things that can help the community, and we want to showcase that, right? And the reality is, you don't need, like, people always think it's this huge wall to climb, right? There's huge thing to do to open your own business, but no, there really isn't. Like, take a leap of faith. You've got some great local banks that are there to finance it if you need to do that, and just run with it, right? There's a cool couple out of Cross Lake that started a fuel business where they were going out and they're actually fueling people's boats at their dock for them.
That's a great idea.
A mobile unit with a fuel tank in it, but in a really big hose, and they would pull in your house and they go down, and for the lakes that don't have gas pumps, or the gas is also $7 or $8 when you fill up or whatever,
right?
So, yeah, so it was like, what a cool idea, right? That is so cool, and I'm sure they're doing great, and I think they're even gearing towards like fish houses too, where they bring out propane tanks or whatever, and it's just like, that's awesome. Run with it, right?
Absolutely, love it. One more thing, I think we can kind of wrap up with this. You obviously are a people person. You are immersed in the people business. Was there kind of a starting point for that where you're like, this is kind of what I really enjoy, people, or why, why that passion for other people?
I was never somebody who was really good at school. I wasn't a book kid. You didn't find me in the library, or I call it the book room. Like, that wasn't me. But something my dad told me that I'll never forget, and this is what helped shape me, was he always told me that my God-given ability to be able to talk to people and to be able to hold a conversation and make them feel comfortable will get me farther in life than any degree ever will. And he told me that growing up, like throughout middle school and high school and all that stuff, and I always kind of shook it off, right? I was like, what do you mean? Like, everybody in schools tell me I got to go get this 4-year degree in order to be successful. And he kept telling me, he goes, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, and your ability to be able to talk to people and make them feel comfortable and just be a human. There's a lot of people that can't do that, right? And some people are like, the idea of picking up the phone and talking to a stranger like freaks them out,
right?
Especially
nowadays.
Yeah, especially nowadays. And I went to college and I learned that, like, oh, that doesn't bother me, right? Like, I sang in choir and I did plays and I did a lot of public speaking, stuff like that, and that's something that doesn't bug me, right? I don't get really rattled by doing that, and I enjoy it, and I get a lot of energy from that, and I get a lot of energy from meeting new people, and that was really the light bulb moment for me where I was like, oh. And then I actually had this one opportunity. There's a I don't remember what it's called. Anyways, there was a competition that I got involved with in college that was actually like a interview skills. I always thought it was really good interview, like for jobs and stuff like that, because I had gotten into college, and by the time I was in college, like I had never like interviewed for a job and not got offered a job, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool. I thought that's what it was, right? And I actually went and competed at interview skills through like a collegiate organization, Business Professionals of America, BPA, so it's called, and like won the state, Minnesota, and then got to go to California to compete at a national level and got like third for
Jeez.
interview skills. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't get rattled by stuff like that. So that it was a lot of fun. It was so cool to be able to do that. And thankful for my mother-in-law. That was actually, she's an instructor that told me. She actually called and told me. She's like, I'm signing you up for this. You're going to do it. And I was like, sounds like fun. Wear a suit. But yeah, so that was the biggest thing for me. Was I never thought that I was gonna be much, right? I always thought, I was like, oh well, go work for a big company or something and do what I can with the skills that I have, and maybe I'll get a 4-year degree. But I got my generals at a community college, and I got to play football, and I got to do a few things, and met a lot of really cool people. But truly, my opportunity and my ability to be able to just talk to people and listen is always something that has got me really far. So,
and when you can make somebody else feel important just by the way that you're talking with them, like it's crazy. And like, I'm a very outgoing person too, and I think I relate with you on a lot of things, which is super, super cool. But even having this conversation with you, like tomorrow, or hopefully tomorrow I'll remember it, but like down the road, like I'm not gonna remember what we said or what we did, but I'm gonna remember how like it made me feel. And I think that's what a lot of people can relate to is, even if you're, everybody's had these experiences where you're out at dinner and the waitress comes up and she's super nice or whatever, and or you're checking out at Target and somebody says, hey, have a nice day or whatever, like just a little bit of kindness or the way they're able to make you feel like seen or heard just based off a conversation is like, I agree 100%. That'll get you farther than people may realize. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's really cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, and yeah, thank you for what you're doing as well at the jail. I mean, I truly I mean that, and I'm kind of an outsider's perspective, but the work that you guys put in there and the amount of patience and care it takes to do that job every day is just blows my mind. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, it's just to see people at their worst and still continue to, even people that are spitting in your face, like still being able to show them compassion is something that most people cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I appreciate that for real. I think these kind of conversations are what it's all about, and kind of what my podcast, the goal of it is kind of all about is iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another. I think we have to just continue to be there for each other, and based off of what you're doing too as a community, just being there for the community and one person after another, help building them up and promoting them, and just helping everybody to understand, like you said, put your best foot forward to go out and do your best. Don't take on what everybody else is thinking or saying, and just be you. Just enjoy it. Just be there for each other, help each other out. Like life's way too short to not just be kind and help each other out.
Do you feel like we sharpened some iron today, or is there anything else that we need to sharpen, you think?
Could sharpen all day long, man. I could talk to you for hours, to be honest with you. And that's another thing too, like with the podcast, like when I've seen some like the videos, like the views are going up, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, that's super awesome. And then there'll be ones where there's not as many. But when it all comes down to it, if nobody else is listening, like, and I say this all the time, but I get notes off the conversation, so I know that if I had a good time talking and I was able to, which I've got some really cool stuff that I got out of this conversation. But at the end of the day, if I'm being sharpened, I'll be selfish and say, hey, I'm It's a win for me. Yeah. But no, I think we totally could do another episode down the road. And I'd love to get to know you more.
You would come on my show next time.
Hey, let's go. Sounds good to me, man. Yeah, we'll have to get coffee or lunch or something sometime. It'd be cool to connect with you more.
Always in for that.
Heck yeah, man. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate your time, especially venturing out into the freaking, what is it, -20?
Yep.
Dang near -20-degree weather. And then to be on here, it means a lot. I appreciate you, man.
Yep. Thank you for the opportunity, man. Thank you for what you're doing. And I'll do one more shameless plug if that's okay.
Absolutely. Where can people find you? Give me all of it.
Yeah. So LakeSierraHeroes.com. Find us on Instagram or Facebook. Right now, April 25th at Grandview Lodge, we're doing our Heroes Among Us Gala. So we're raising money for our local heroes who have fallen on hard times. Mike Schmidt's going to be emceeing. We're going to have guest speakers, a testimonial video that'll be dropping for everything that we've been doing. Lots of, if you like guns, if you like giveaways, come to the event. It's going to be awesome. We are selling table sponsors, so nudge your business to come buy a table. You can do it right on our website. So outside of that, how I'm able to do Lake Sierra Heroes is through my real estate business. So you can find me on Facebook, Northwoods Agent, Woods to Water Real Estate, Isaiah Moengen, and then obviously listen to local podcasts. Hit us up, listen. When you're not listening to this podcast, jump on ours and figure out what we're up to. So I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah. Keep on doing what you're doing and check out all his stuff. He's got some good stuff, people. It's been good. We'll do it again.
Yeah, deal.
All right. Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you later.
Later.